Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
That's what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. How to code, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with another episode of the Success Chronicles. Truly excited to have Coach Ray Zepeda on with us, an amazing guy, amazing coach that's done many great things throughout his life and his career and has truly done lots of things to impact many in a positive way. And I'm so excited to have him on and highlight his journey, highlight his story. So first, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to interview on the Success Chronicles.
Well, super appreciative of you having me. You know, I always admire people that are intentionally encouraging of others, and Chip, you're certainly that. And I know that in my time as an athletic director there in Cypher, you know, we had a lot of collaboration in regards to having you out and trying to encourage and pour into our kids and our programs. And so certainly appreciate you and all that you do. And this is just a great honor to be with you today.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. Well, let's dive into it. If you don't mind sharing with the audience a little bit about, your journey and who you are and what you do so they have an idea.
Well, was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, grew up there. My parents were both public school educators. Dad was a teacher
awesome.
and a coach. And growing up as a little boy that loved sports, I don't know that there was a better profession for your dad to be involved with than to be a coach. And so, I tagged around with him in the locker room and at stadiums. And I think it just really intensified my love for sport and for coaches and coaching and seeing the impact that my dad had, on other athletes and young men. My mom was a public school teacher and then a school counselor. And so pretty much all that we knew was a life that really revolved around the rhythm of public education and the public school year. Lived really in the middle of Corpus Christi growing up. And my dad kind of transitioned from a teacher coach role to getting a position as an assistant superintendent in Flower Bluff ISD, which is kind of a suburb of Corpus Christi. And so we moved out to Flower Bluff as a high school student and went there 4 years, participated in football and baseball. And a lot of people ask me about my participation in those days, and I tried to explain to them that, I wasn't very talented. I think that my passion exceeded my talent. But, I lived for playing those sports, and I can really look back to say that the influence of my coaches at that time on my life was really immeasurable. And so I really hold those men to very high regard for what they did for me. And I went to Texas A&M after that and got back to Corpus Christi as fast as I could to teach and coach. And so that's kind of how I grew up. It was a great way to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot of lessons, but really fostered a love of public education, athletics, and coaches and coaching.
That's awesome to hear that. I didn't know that about your parents being educators. Me being a fourth generation educator as well. So I love that because you learn so much about giving service and helping others.
Well, and that's what you saw, exemplified in my parents on a really a daily basis. And I think that really set a good basis for who I wanted to be. And really, when I look at things today, my sister is an assistant principal. My brother-in-law is a athletic director, coach. I've got cousins that are principals of schools. And so it just kind of runs. That's really the family business, public education.
That's so cool, Coach. I think it makes me think of like the legacy piece too. Here's a funny. So like, me being a fourth generation educator, my son swears he's not going to be a educator, but we'll see.
Well, I think that there could be no higher calling than public education, but and there's a lot of rewards that go along with getting involved in public education. But it's also not the easiest life or lifestyle. I mean, you're probably never going to experience great riches when it comes to monetary wealth. And so those are conversations that we had with my three boys as they were growing up and trying to decide what their pathway was going to be.
That's awesome. Well, let's look at your career, Coach. So after college, I know you said you went back to Corpus, and let's talk about your career.
Yeah, I started as a middle school coordinator at 23 years old, and so I worked
Wow.
at a public school there, and right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of Corpus Christi, and thought really I was something, and realized now that I knew nothing, right? And I coached there in Corpus. I did 1 year in middle school, and I used to joke with all of our middle school coaches there in Cypress that I was never tough enough to stay in middle school beyond 1 year. That's really a tough job for tough people. And really admire middle school coaches. I do think that year, though, gave me a really good basis for learning how to coach others. And I can remember being the only coach in a eighth grade boys athletic period with 60 kids. And so, to have 60 young men and myself and to be outnumbered to that regard really forced me to really improvise and learn how to best, keep those kids in line, but also motivate them to be their best. Quickly transition, though, to being a high school football and baseball coach at W.B. Ray High School in Corpus Christi, which is one of the oldest high schools there in Corpus. Great, diverse community that I served, and left there to work in HISD with a person that I had met on staff there in Corpus. Didn't know anything about HISD, didn't know anything really about Houston, didn't know anybody in Houston, and moved with my wife and newborn baby up to Houston to coach at Houston Milby High School. Coached there for 3 years. Great experience. Learned how to coach in a urban environment with some kids that were great kids that wanted to learn and to be better and to do better for themselves. A very challenging situation for us. Proud of our time there in HISD. Left there and went to Galena Park High School. Worked there as a defensive coordinator for quite a few years, and eventually returned back to South Texas as a head coach at a small rural school district outside of Corpus Christi, Mathis ISD. Was 2 years there as the athletic director and head football coach, and eventually came back to Houston to be the head football coach at Galena Park, where I was there for 7 years before transitioning to Cypress-Fairbanks ISD, where I was an assistant athletic director for 3 years and then the athletic director for 7.5. And really enjoyed my time in Cypress and really at all of my stops. I think I learned something from every single position and stop that I had. Treasure the relationships at each of those stops. Keep in touch with kids and coaches from every one of those stops. And, now I'm the athletic director here at the UIL. And, when I was first starting in 1993, probably the furthest thing from my mind was being involved with the UIL. That would have been a crazy talk, back then, probably maybe even a couple of years ago. But it's amazing what happens over 31 years of serving. And I do think that I have a unique career pathway in that I've served in really the most urban of situations where we were under-resourced, where it was open enrollment. Kids could go wherever they wanted to go to school. To working as an athletic director of the third largest school district in Texas in a suburban area where we were very well resourced and taken care of by our community, where there were very high expectations, to now working in the UIL. I think that diverse set of experience has really helped me to serve in this role, hopefully effectively, and to kind of understand what a coach goes through if you're out in the middle of the country, or if you're in the inner city, or if you're in a suburban district. And I hope I bring a little bit of that experience with me to the job each day here at the UIL.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say too. Once you finish going through, like, just I'm gonna go a plethora of experiences that just I don't know, helps you relate to all.
I think
Right.
so. It's the old saying too, when you really look at things, those years pile up quickly. And it's the old saying that the days are long, but the years are short. It really seems like yesterday that I was in that locker room with the 65 kids in middle school in Corpus Christi, Texas. But to move from there, to inner city Houston, out to the country outside of Corpus, back to Houston, and then to the suburbs. it's been a great path, and I've been very fortunate to be really exposed to some great professionals that were great examples to me along my journey.
That's a huge blessing, Coach. Like, that's a huge blessing. And just like I said in the intro, like as you were saying that, I was thinking about all the lives that's been touched, in a positive way. I think about all the relationships and families that you've been blessed to connect with and meet. I think about like all the knowledge uh, that's attained from the people that you've been blessed to be around. Like I was reflecting on my coaching career and thinking, like, man, like I hadn't done like half of any of that, but I felt like I was blessed to learn so much from so many great people. Do I talk about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really from two sets of people. I think that, I had a lot of mentors,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of coaches that really gave me and principals that gave me opportunities. And not only did they give me an opportunity, but they served as great examples to me. Worked for a great coach as an assistant. I worked for Mike Coker, who went on to be assistant superintendent at Prosper and superintendent at Belleville. He put together a great staff, and we were at Galena Park that had not really had a lot of success in the near future or at that time. But now looking back at that staff, there are several people on that staff that have gone on to collegiate coaching careers, public school superintendents, assistant superintendents. And I mean, he really had a gift for putting great people together. And so I learned from not only Mike, but those coworkers as well. Worked for an athletic director at Galena Park when I was a head coach, Ed Warkin, who is really considered to be one of the best athletic directors in the state of Texas. He had a great career there at Galena Park, really responsible for the turnaround of athletics, I think, in that entire district and especially at North Shore High School. Followed him out to Cy-Fair, was able to work for a great superintendent in Dr. Mark Henry, who's retiring here in a couple of weeks. Dr. Henry was an unbelievable example for me, gave me so many great opportunities, but beyond that, he taught me so much. Beyond those professional mentors, though, I learned so much from the kids that I coached and their families, and just really even today, I just feel so blessed to be able to keep in touch with people that I saw as kids, and now are 40, 45 years old, grown men with families of their own. And so the lessons that I've learned from them and their journeys have been immeasurable as well.
Man, so great, Coach. Thank you for sharing that. Just I don't know. I'm blown away with how great that is, because I know like how huge that is. Like, in our short statement and conversation about that, like that is like so huge and will continue like for generations.
Well, and I think that's the magic of public education, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
public educators take all kids, no matter
Hmm.
what their situation is, no matter
Come
their
on.
disability, no
Come
matter
on.
their strengths and weaknesses, and they
Yes.
serve them and they try to make them better. And so, that's why at this time it's been a little bit discouraging to me to see some people bash public education when I think that, really, I think public education has been one of the greatest gifts to citizens here in the United States, and the thing that separates our country from so many others, just that unlimited opportunity that we give, kids here in the United States. I think it's something to be special or to be treasured, and it's something that's truly special.
I'm on that same train, Coach. I love it. Well, what are three things you've accomplished in your life that you're proud of?
Well, I think first and foremost, and I've listened to your podcast several times, and I know a lot of people mention this, but I think it's true. I'm very proud of my family.
Hmm.
When I look at the life my wife and myself have created, and the type of young men my three sons are, certainly so proud of that. That's fundamental, I think, to who I am and who we want to be as a family. and to see kind of where my three kids are and, where I'm at with my wife after 30 years of marriage, super proud of that. I think also this career path that we've been talking about, I think I'm very proud of that. And it's not for what's been achieved. I think many people would look at it that way. I don't think that's the main thing that I'm proud of. I'm proud of all the relationships and hopefully the influence that I've been able to have over those 30 years. And I think that in each of my stops, I hope that I've given great service and worked extremely hard. And I would hope that any of the people that I came in contact with would say that I've been a great example of how to give great effort in service to others. And so I'm proud of that. I think also, there have been several times when there have been moments of adversity that we've been able to work through and overcome. I can look back in how our district in Cy-Fair responded during COVID, and and how we facilitated participation for 17,000 athletes at a time when there were people not even in public school. I'm very proud of that. How our coaching staff responded, how they showed up for kids at a time when there was so much unknown about that virus, and how they just showed up to say, how can I help and serve? I'm so proud of those coaches and for what we were able to collectively do for kids. And I've always often said that those coaches are my heroes for their heroic service during that time. And I'm very proud of our collective effort. I know you asked me for three things, but I'm going to give you a fourth.
Oh, Coach, you good for it. Let's go.
I think, too, that the other thing that I'm proud of as an athletic director there in Cy-Fair, there were 7 team sports state championships. And I think that that's something that I'm really proud of, because now, in the position that I'm in as an athletic director here at the UIL, you realize how hard it is to win those state championships, and every one of those are special. Right across from my desk here are all of the medals, whether they're state championship runner-up or, semifinal medals that we had from going to state tournament. I keep those right in front of my desk because each of those experiences kind of reminds me of how important each of those experiences were for our kids and our coaches. And I'm hoping and hopeful that today, as the athletic director of the UIL, that we're providing great experiences for kids, coaches, and communities when they come to our state championships, which super excited about the football state championships next week.
So good, Coach. I love that. Well, just hearing you talk about your journey and the things that you're proud of course, I would consider that to be hugely successful. So we got to touch on success. What is your definition of success?
Well, I know from being someone that listens to your podcast that you get this answer quite a bit. And so I hate to maybe possibly copy others, but I think that this is beyond just my definition for success. It's been a guidepost for me as I've worked through my life, and really for my family is, John Wooden's quote about really giving your best effort, and that you really are successful when you can say that, hey, that you gave your very best effort in pursuit of being the best person that you could possibly be. If you could do that, you could consider yourself to be a success. I think that a lot of people say that. I mean, I've listened to your own podcast and heard many of your guests say that, but I've also heard Nick Saban talk about that there's a huge capability gap that exists between, what people can be and, the performance that they put out on a daily basis. And trying to close that gap is so important. And, he's been one to say that most people don't ever close the gap of where they are to who they could be. And so I know that, every single day I try to redline my effort so that I can feel good and sleep at night, that I'm doing the best that I can do from a personal perspective, to be the best that I can, to be of service to others, but to also close that capability gap that exists even for myself. I would also think, too, that you really can't consider yourself to be a success if you do not improve the situation of the people that are closest to you, whether that be your family, your coworkers, or the people that you're responsible for. I think that we're all responsible for each other. And again, you really can't consider yourself to be successful unless you're making a significant difference in the life of those people that are surrounding you. And so I think that those two keystones of, really best effort and looking to make your highest contribution. I think that those are the two key things that I would say equate to success.
So good, coach. So good. I think I totally agree. Like success is synonymous with significance.
Well, and again, if you experience individual success, however you define that, even if that means that you've given your personal best, but it's not leading to anyone else being their personal best, I don't know that you've really been significant enough to
Right.
consider your life worth living. And so hopefully, again, that's something that I've been able to do, and it's something that I'm cognizant on of a daily basis of trying to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, what I want to do now is just throw out a couple phrases at you. And if you don't mind, just kind of talk about what comes to mind or to heart when you hear these words or phrases. You okay with that, Coach?
Absolutely.
All right. So the first phrase is quality relationships.
I think the number one thing that comes to mind is intentionality. I think that, you cannot have quality relationships if you're not intentional about what you're doing. One of the things that I try to do is to really be mindful of how I'm encouraging others. And so, on Mondays, as I'm driving in to work each day, I'm trying to think, or each Monday, I'm trying to think purposefully of who can I write a short handwritten card to, send a text message to, maybe call on Monday purposefully, intentionally to try to encourage. And I think that if you're not intentional about the relationships that you have, and I don't think that you can have quality relationships. And so trying to be intentional of how you're treating the people around you, I think that leads to quality relationships.
Awesome. Awesome. This one, I really wanted to make sure I throw this next one at you because hearing you talk about your journey, I think this is right on point with your path. So let's see. Opportunities bring opportunities.
I think that that's true. And I think that, a lot of people, I think, they think, well, when I get this opportunity or that, then I'm going to start serving or working hard. I think that, as you mentioned, small opportunities lead to greater opportunities. And I think that if you pour your best and your highest self into every opportunity that you're given and every job and every task, people notice that. And I think that the noticing of how you handle even the most meager of opportunities leads to opportunities that are greater for you in the future. Again, when I was cleaning up the locker room by myself at Hamlin Middle School in 1993, someone was watching the work that I was putting in there, which led to an assistant coaching job the next year at the high school. When he showed up every Saturday and Sunday as a middle school coach to the high school football staff, just to work when you didn't need to be there, that led to a spot on the staff. That spot on the staff led to relationships that brought me to Houston. That brought me to Galena Park, where I met the superintendent, who then, brought me to Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. So I think each of those stops and opportunities in and of themselves maybe would have seemed very meager and not that great at the time, but they led to awesome opportunities in the future. And they only would have led to those opportunities if I took them seriously and applied my best effort to them.
So good, Coach. I normally, since you listen, you probably heard me say this too. My one word response is boom. That's what I have in response to that answer, Coach. So I'll give you the last one here, and this is the good one, Coach. And the last word I want to give you is legacy.
Well, I think legacy, again, I talked a lot about your highest contribution that you're making to other people. At the end of the day, the great thing about public education and serving in public education over 31 years is that my legacy, when all this is said and done, are going to be all of those kids that I coached, all the coaches that I worked with, the lives that they've impacted. I think that that's special. It's something that I take very seriously, something that I try to remind myself each day. And, while others might work in the business and their legacy might be the amount of money that they make, the success of their company, hopefully my legacy is going to be lives changed. And I think that that's the powerful legacy that all public school educators leave after they hang it up and hang up their whistles or, et cetera. And so I'm very proud to be a product of public education and a public education servant. And I hope my legacy is going to be a lot of lives positively changed and impacted over time.
Yes, sir. Well, before we close, being a ball coach myself, I know and there's lots of stories that we experience. Is there a story that comes up for you that maybe that was pretty good, that a lesson came out of it that you mind sharing?
Well, when you coach over time, you have lots of stories, and in those stories really make up your career, right? And I can think of just a couple. I can think of my first football game back as a head football coach at Galena Park. We were playing Montgomery at Montgomery. Very good football game, close football game. Comes down to the end, and we score a touchdown to be down by 1 point, and there's probably less than 5 seconds to go in the game. And so we send out, of course, coaches are looking at me, as far as what are we going to do? We're going to kick the extra point. We're going to go for two. And I, being probably a little bit scared of the situation, I send out the extra point team. At that point, Montgomery's head coach, John Bolfing, did probably what any good coach would do. He calls timeout to set up a great field goal block. And at that point, I had a lot of assistant coaches, much smarter than myself, that said, hey, look, we're on the road. Why don't we try to go win this deal right now? I said, you know what? That's a great idea. So we called dive option, the opposite direction of where Coach Bolfing had set up his field goal block. And we end up winning the game by 1 point in my first game as a head coach. And, that is something that I remember, and really very fortunate to have had coaches that gave me great advice there, but also just lucky that we ran our play away from Coach Bolfing's extra point block. Beyond that, I have tons of stories of just individual kids that just really overcame so much significant hardship, and so proud of the things that they've gone on to do. And I think, every good story that I would have would end up with seeing them become men who are great fathers, great husbands today. And there's so many of them, it'd be even inappropriate for me to try to tell just one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, thanks for sharing it. That was a good one. And I know Coach Bolfing too. I interviewed him as well. Great guy.
He is a great guy. And, again, we were both young coaches then. And I think Coach Bolfing has hung it up now, which,
yes, sir.
And retired. And so it tells you again how those again, years go by pretty darn quickly.
Well, as we close, I'd love for you to get an opportunity to share with the audience where they can go follow you at the UIL and support you and show you some love, Coach.
Yep. I try to put out a lot of good content on my Twitter handle. I think it's like Ray Zepeda 1 or Ray _Zepeda 1. You can kind of search and find me there. I think that's the best place to really find content. Again, if it's matters related to the UIL, I would really encourage anybody that has a public school, either athlete, band student, music student, or someone that's involved in academic competitions, to follow the UIL Texas Twitter handle, along with our other social media channels, because there's a lot of great content to inform the many activities of what happens here at the UIL on the daily basis.
Awesome. Well, again, Coach, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me and be interviewed. Thank you so much for all that you do and have done, and I wish you continued success.
Well, I really do appreciate you having me, Chip. I kind of feel like I made it. I saw that you interviewed Jeff Traylor the other day. So when I can be interviewed at, really right alongside Division I head football coaches as a former middle school football coach, man, I've made it. So thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, sir. Had a blast. Loved it. And thank you guys for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time. God bless. Go get it.